Hello, everyone. Um, a bit of a risk, but I think I don't know if we got any sports coaches here. I feel we should do a bit of stretching, just some two or three things, just to get some energy going about. Because I think we've been sitting down for hours. So I don't know if people are happy to stand up um, and don't injure yourself. As I say, who's got any suggestions of just two or three things? Yeah. Just from a standing position, just very quickly. Yeah, okay, we're starting. Yeah. Okay. And then both arms up. Can you safely, slowly bend down to touch your toes? Oh, very good. And just one more stretch up and onto your toe balls of your feet. Good. Okay. Um, thank you very much. Yes. Um, I have to be careful not to stand in front of here, but if I stand there, I can't see the presentation. So thanks very much for joining me this morning. I'm Connal, I'm the director of the Rangers Charity Foundation, and what I hope to do over the next 3/4 of an hour is take you through our new strategy. It won't be in forensic detail. I think I've decided to pick on certain areas of our work and show what we had been doing and how the new strategy will change things, and just some of other considerations, challenges, opportunities and learnings. But I hope, given the number of people in the room, that I don't talk for the whole time, so that we can have some dialogue where you're happy to ask us anything about what we've been grappling with at the Rangers Charity Foundation, or offer some of your own perspectives. So, as a general overview, our mission at the Rangers Charity Foundation is that we exist to be a force for good on behalf of the Rangers family, showing compassion to those in need, tackling inequalities and creating opportunities for people of all ages to change their lives for the better. And at the foundation, we very deliberately work with people of all ages, and we have for us, in terms of our staff size, quite a lot of complexity in the types of issues that we work with. So that can make life challenging, I think, for us as an organisation, but also hopefully really rewarding. And our values are there to see: compassionate, open, inclusive, committed to excellence, and confident custodians. So confident custodians mean that a lot of the people that we work with have vulnerabilities, and it's important for us to be confident in our policies and the way that we support and look after people. So we tend to move in 3-year strategy phases at the Rangers Charity Foundation, and we had worked through most of this strategy just pre-COVID, but because of the COVID pandemic, we put it on the shelf, because the first priority was about the foundation's sustainability, making sure that the staff all had jobs and that we were using our finances appropriately. And with any new strategy, generally for us, it will involve new financial investment. So we waited a year, took the opportunity to look at the strategy again, and launched it at the beginning of this season. So the process, which I'm sure would be familiar for many of you, is that we all staff, every single member of staff in the foundation, reviewed their current programs and activity, and we had discussions sometimes with the partners that we work on different programs, and in some areas we got together focus groups of fans to discuss certain approaches, perhaps around fundraising or communications. That was all fed back, and then following an agreed structure, the senior management team prepared drafts for their areas of work, sent them back to myself, and then I had a review and then a discussion with the senior management team, and then we shared the draft strategy with the Board of Trustees. I gave them a presentation, and then that received approval. So for each area or pillar of our work, which I'll come on to, we have 7 pillars that summarise our charity activity. And so, for example, for potential, which is one of the pillars, in each area of the strategy, we would say what the pillar was, the pillar's aim, and just using these statements, we will do this by, and then some bullet points of how we're going to deliver the strategy. And also in the main strategy document, we had a statement or a question saying how did we do? So we summarised what had happened in the previous strategy to give the trustees and ourselves some context of how's that area been going and how are we now going to tackle this as part of the new strategy. And then mini tables for each programme, the objective of that programme, what are we planning to do each year, how are we doing getting towards our target, and what resource is going to be needed in terms of staffing or external funding, or are we self-funding? So those considerations were there consistently for every single programme. So our pillars, 7 pillars: potential, healthy lives, everyone, anyone, a better world, dreams, our local community, and giving. Potential really covers education and employability. Healthy lives, hopefully self-explanatory. Everyone, anyone is our diversity pillar, and we have a campaign at the club, the Everyone Anyone campaign, and Everyone Anyone is part of the lyrics of a Rangers song, but it lends itself very well to diversity and inclusion campaign that we hopefully engage supporters in the club with. A Better World, as I'll come to, covers really our outward-facing funding. So we give out money to local, national and international organisations and projects. We don't just deliver our community programmes. And Dreams is really showing the hand of friendship and compassion for those who may be terminally ill, chronically ill, or have a long-term disability or need a boost, and we create special experiences or actions generally for supporters who need that boost. And again, the others are hopefully self-explanatory, and we'll come on to that. I did have a video to take, but I've been denied the opportunity to show it by our friends at the EFDN. So that was just really to showcase our pillars. So what I'm going to generally do, and I'm happy for people to butt in with a question as we go through if that's helpful, but to go through each pillar, to highlight maybe some key programs that we deliver within that program, and then a second slide showing what the new strategy means for that pillar, which I hope makes sense. So for potential, this is an area that actually has seen tremendous growth for the foundation over recent years, and primarily in the area of working with vulnerable young people and employability. I don't know the names of different qualifications in each of your countries, but in Scotland we have a national qualifications authority called the Scottish Qualifications Authority, and different organisations, not just formal educational institutions, can become an accredited centre. So the Rangers Charity Foundation is an accredited SQA centre, so we're able to deliver programmes for people, and they have nationally recognised qualifications. And for many of the young people that we work with in secondary schools, they may be the only qualifications that they receive on reaching school age. And our staff need to be qualified within the SQA system. So you can be an assessor is the general stage, and then an internal verifier. So I'm not going to bore you with the detail. It's quite a detailed process, but it's been transformative for us in the trust that partners can automatically place in us to deliver programs, and really helps justify for schools or colleges why they would work with the Rangers Charity Foundation in the first place. Wider achievement is for secondary school pupils, and we currently work with 7 individual secondary schools in the city, and they send pupils to our delivery space 1 day a week for the whole school year. And for those young people, some of them are not attending school, some have been excluded, and some maybe have an uneasy relationship there. So the schools identify pupils who they would benefit from, you know, the hook of the club or the foundation to come and do something in a different context, which, you know, we're all experienced in, I'm sure, in our own club foundations. So as I say, we have 7 schools that we're working with wider achievement. All of them will have SQA qualifications attached. And for some of these programs, some of the young people come back as mentors or peer supporters for future groups. Hub in the community. Now, this is something, again, that is perfect example to illustrate from forums such as this, is that I became quite interested in this program that's run at the Manchester United Foundation. And so what we did with their permission was adapt their approach to our context in Glasgow. So they have, I think, about 25 Hub in the community schools. So they have a member of staff. You know, if it was my colleague Jennifer, and Jennifer was the Hub coach, she would be in there with the Rangers Charity Foundation branded top on. Jennifer, she's not a teacher. It's a more informal relationship, working with, you know, mentoring young people, transitions from primary to secondary, running individual programs, supporting individual pupils and in groups. So it's a great program, and we now have 3 at the foundation, 3 members of staff in 3 schools. Cashback for Community, Scottish Government funded, working with young people who are leaving prison or who've been involved in the criminal justice system. So as we would say, some of the highest tariff young people in terms of behaviours and life experience to deal with. And we work in partnership with the Department of Work and Pensions, which is the UK-wide organisation that deals with employment, employability, and you know, jobless support. So they commission us to deliver a certain number of projects a year. And we have the Ibrox Youth Hub, which really is one of the final ingredients that makes all our employability work come together. And the DWP have invested by putting in place a member of staff within the foundation. So people are referred from the local job centres to come to Ibrox, but also their worker links in with the programmes we're delivering anyway. So it provides a great circular benefit system for the young people. And I think we were the first football club in the UK to have this, and the head civil servant in London came because our outcomes are being really, really positive and watched elsewhere, and I think they're trying to roll out this youth hub model in other areas. So strategy objectives, I think in general, what we're not trying to do at the Rangers Charity Foundation is to be the biggest foundation we can possibly be. Everything has to be about genuine need, and I've never wanted to compromise on quality, and I've been at the foundation for almost 17 years. I was the only employee when I joined the foundation, and I think that is always really important to me. I always want to feel proud of the quality of what we do, and I'll come on to challenges later, but you know, we have grown significantly recently and are doing at the moment, and I'm very conscious of wanting to make sure that we do that responsibly, both for the staff and that we don't overstretch ourselves. So some programs we're not looking to make any bigger or wider in scope. Others we will be doing that. So wider achievement, for example, I feel we're at a good plateau at the moment with the number of schools, so let's just not take on any more. We do want to increase our hub initiative from 3 to 5. We had planned to do that in year 3 of the strategy, but we've got 3 secondary schools knocking on the door because they've heard about the other ones and wanting a hub officer there. And we pay roughly half the cost and the school pays the other half. So we need to obviously raise unrestricted income to be able to fund expansion. We want to successfully deliver our first cashback program and then apply next year to be approved for another 3-year phase, because we're a new cashback partner. Cashback in Scotland uses millions of pounds from money recovered from baddies. So all the basically it's the police recover money or courts recover money from criminals if they freeze or take their assets, and then that's put into a fund to then benefit society. We want to continue to secure DWP commissions with the Youth Hub. Healthy Lives, we have quite a few programs there. The earliest one, we have primary 2 pupils running around crazy in the school, working on coordination skills. Very fun program, 8 weeks, 1 hour a week, delivered for 8 weeks with some healthy eating. That's our own program and we pay for it ourselves. Joy of Moving, I think a few people in the room probably deliver that. It's a UK-wide program funded by Ferrero. We have a weekly drop-in service that we started to be the delivery on, but is now delivered by volunteers with our staff, and it's for adults in the south side of Glasgow who are recovering from addiction and wanting to maintain that recovery from addiction. So we have about 30 to 40 people come in every Monday evening to our delivery space, and it's a self-help support group. And Walking Football, that's probably the one program that's still suspended at the moment because of COVID. We hope to start it again soon. And Team Talk is funded by the club's main shirt sponsor and his mental health program, and we've delivered that for 1 year so far, online actually. And so within the strategy, we want to double Get Ready for Sport. So at the moment, this year we're doing it in 50 primary schools, and we want to move to 100 primary schools by year 3 of the strategy. Many programs in stability, we want to maintain them, but we're not intending to increase them. We're part of the Walking Football League with the EFDN, so we're looking forward to starting that in the new year. And Team Talk, we're going to have a physical in-person weekly session. We're going to maintain the online presence because even though COVID restrictions are reducing for us, some people don't feel comfortable leaving home because of anxiety issues. Some are a long distance away, so we want to maintain the service for those people who can't come to the stadium, and we'll augment it with a new Scottish government funded programme called Changing Room Extra Time. So mental health is a real issue in society, even more so because of the pandemic, so it's good that we're being able to be flexible and expand our response. Everyone, anyone, we're very committed at the Foundation to diversity and inclusion, and I've been closely involved with the club's Everyone Anyone campaign. We have autism friendly football across 4 different age groups, massively successful programme. The demand has been incredible, and it really, I would say, helps the carers or parents just as much as the young people. And where we can, we're building up the young people's confidence to be able to integrate into mainstream grassroots football. But if not, it doesn't matter, just come to our programme. Visually impaired football, we deliver diversity wins, separate to the European show race and the red card. We have diversity wins which focuses on anti-sectarianism and LGBT plus awareness and anti-bullying in schools. And actually EFDN liked our diversity wins hashtag and took that on board for the European-wide programme, and we're hoping to be part of a new diversity wins application as the expert partner if that comes off, because because unfortunately some other voters in the UK took away my European citizenship against my will. For British teams, it's maybe more of a challenge to be part of European funded applications. There is a bit of expansion for us as part of the strategy. We have to seek funding for some of these programs. I'll let you see it for yourself. We want to be the expert partner in the new one. We've been doing research with other Scottish partners around learning disability and football and whether there is a need, because I think everything we have to do, we want to justify and not do it for the sake of it. So there has been a really positive response, and we're intending to fund that ourselves for 3 years. And I'll come on to our current appeal shortly, but we're planning to start a learning disability football program to supplement autism and visually impaired. And further into the strategy, we've been doing some work behind the scenes to better engage with ethnic minority communities in the Glasgow area. So we would like to make a program potentially opposite the stadium that is welcome for everyone, but specifically we want to work hard to engage with ethnic minority communities locally to take part. And gender, this is further in the strategy, so it's not something we're focusing on at the moment, but we feel that we would want to try and do some work to attract more girls into football again, whether it's in schools probably where there may be less participation happening, and can we put in some role models to encourage more participation. A better world. How am I doing for time, by the way? Are we okay? So this is where we're giving out money. We do quite a lot of fan engagement. I think in Scotland we don't receive large chunks of money from the equivalent of our FA or other national organisations. So if we want to self-fund something, we have to work quite hard to raise that through fan engagement. So we have local, national and international charity partners at the Rangers Charity Foundation. Local examples being the Children's Hospital and also a homeless project, winter project within the city of Glasgow. So for a number of years we have a sleep out. So at the end of, in I think 3 weeks' time, we'll have about 200 fans over 2 nights coming to sleep overnight next to the pitch to raise money for a homeless project, but also ourselves. So 50% of the money will go towards a winter night shelter service for homeless people in Glasgow, and the other half of the funds raised are invested in our own program. So we've been doing that for many years, and they're really popular cause to support. National charity partners, we change each year. This year we've gone with Age Scotland, a national charity for older people, because we feel they've been disproportionately affected through social isolation through the pandemic. And we also support armed forces charities and for veterans. And our international partner for a very long time is UNICEF. And at the moment the partnership is supporting the purchase of vaccines for other countries as part of the international COVAX scheme. So within the strategy, we're keeping that local, national, international structure, but we're increasing the amount of money that we will pledge by 20%. And we've also developed a new discretionary grants fund. Not a huge amount of money, £15,000, but it means that for smaller projects that don't fit these other categories, that we've now got a level of flexibility that we can, be kind and offer some support if we can. And we recently, for example, have given £2,500 towards a new mountain rescue centre in the Western Isles of Scotland. So our outgoings will be about £90,000 plus 50% of the proceeds of the Big Ibrox sleep out, which obviously we don't know what that will be, but generally that raises £50,000 to £60,000 each year. So probably another £30,000 would go on that. Dream days, we have, like many organisations, special days up at the training ground and at the stadium where we invite people in to meet the players and be treated really specially. And they're always really wonderful days and experiences. We've been limited during COVID and perhaps have done more dedicated videos that we've sent by WhatsApp to fans and supporters, and also letters and memorabilia from the first team squad. But some of these can be very heart-rending situations, and it's something that certainly our supporters love to see us being able to do. And we would really love to have that Avabot at some point, because I think there'll be so many opportunities for the foundation. Locally, we're based in Govan Thriving Place. I chair the local Learning for Life and Work theme group, so it brings different organisations together to try and improve the lives for the people of Govan. So it's not about us doing a list of I'm doing this, you're doing that. It's where can we work together to add some value. So I chair the education and employability one. We do some community cleanups, and we also for local health authority, they're very bureaucratic. We're not, so they periodically give us money to hand out to local organisations, and they run the process to decide who's getting what, but then give us the money and we give it out. So I guess we can make ourselves useful in different ways with partners. And as you can imagine, lots of people will write to the club or the foundation looking for, can I just have a signed shirt or whatever. So we get about 2,500 requests a year. We try and be generous as we can, giving out tickets, tour certificates, goodie bags, letters from players, and we're very generous. It's really hard for you to write to us and us to reply saying no. You have to just consistently not give us an address to reply to, for example. So 86% of those in recent years, roughly in the high 80s, get a positive response for us. And we have volunteers who come in to help us respond to those. How do we sustain all these partners and expansions of self-funded programs? We've got a very loyal fan base who take on personal challenges and attend our events. And the most successful program that we have is a True Blue Hero Award. So if you come and do a fun run, do your own challenge or a cycle, we have hundreds and hundreds of fans who do this either through our own challenges or others. If you raise over a certain amount of money, you become a True Blue Hero, and you come to a reception and receive a True Blue Hero medal from a first team player. And you hear about how your support is making a difference. So we have quite a number of True Blue Hero events each year. For example, we had a Champions Challenge at the end of the season because we were champions, and it's been a long time, it's fair to say, 10 years. But that raised £70,000. The fans themselves raised £70,000. That is really, for us, a lot of money. The club, after many years knocking on the door, they finally agreed to, as part of every single season ticket renewal, the foundation receives £2 donation. So with 46,000 season ticket holders, taking off value-added tax, we receive £76,000 from the club from that initiative, and we don't have to do anything now that that's in place. Because I basically said, can you decide your price, and then can you add on £2? Or, are you happy to just make that donation? So it's really positive for us, and so simple. I'd rather not ask the club for 10 different things. I'd rather have one or two different things that really make a big difference for us, and just focus on those. We have our own events. We had a charity ball 3 weeks ago, and that raised £95,000, a black tie event. Again, incredible funds raised. So if anybody wants to get in touch about different event ideas or things that we've done, then please do let us know. Merchandise, that can be a sensitive and tricky one with the club. But for example, we had a pin badge last year, a duel with the foundation and the club. We do that periodically, and that can raise over £20,000. It's a lot of work to send them all out, but if we can get 2 or 3 products that the club are happy for us to have, again, great. And then sponsorships. So if a club sponsor is keen to support one of our events. So the shirt sponsor, for example, sponsors the Big Ibrox sleepouts. So they pay enough sponsorship that means it's cost neutral for us. So all the breakfasts and signing up fees and are free of charge. Going forward, we've increased from £100 to £150, the minimum target for True Blue Heroes. We want to maintain some of the things we do. We're about to employ someone who we want to focus more on getting new sponsorships. We don't have enough staff to do that properly at the moment because we want to look after the relationship with these sponsors. And we want to launch a regular giving campaign. The club has its own lotto. In fact, it has 2 lottos. And you know, we need to find other ways that we can generate sustainable income over the years. This year is the club's 150th anniversary, so we're using it as an opportunity to develop a 150th anniversary appeal. So our target is to raise £150,000 to fund 4 legacy projects, the disability project that I spoke about, to expand our hub initiative. We want to renovate our delivery space at the stadium, and we want to be able to provide more special experiences for people who are unwell. So we need to do new activities to reach that target and not just use the existing methodology. Very briefly, communications, now onto the resources. We have 1.5 staff. Jennifer, my colleague here, is Senior Communications Executive. We have all the usual dedicated channels. We're really stretched in this area. And as a foundation, we have the 4th largest social media following in the UK for a football club charity after Manchester United, Liverpool and Arsenal. So we work really hard to have those engagement figures. There are areas that we could engage more. I think, you know, Instagram and LinkedIn are areas where we would want to try and get more engagement going forward. We're in the process of employing a new digital content executive. I think as the club's expanded, we're not able to rely on their media team to create the videos to tell our stories. So we're having to invest our own funds, but that will mean that we've got more ownership to create our own content and to tell our own stories. So the new position will have an emphasis on videography and photography so that we'll have more opportunities to talk about these platforms, the 7 pillars, because that's fairly new for the foundation, and we try to rename our pillars rather than just say education, employability, but something that we can get messages over to the fans so they are more aware of what we do. And yes, so Jennifer is the person to discuss more about communications, but we're excited about the new resource that the strategy is enabling us. So from being fairly stable as a staff unit, we recently recruited for a senior fundraising and partnerships executive, the digital content we just spoke about, new community executives to support our community delivery. And we do have 20 part-time community coaches, but if we don't have predictability on funding, it makes it difficult for us as much as we would like to give longer term contracts. But we've been able to do that for 2 new members of staff. And there's a new government scheme at the moment where we can employ people and we receive government funding for 6 months. So we're employing 2 young people, including Jordan, who was one of the participants in the wider achievement programme. And she is a young single mother who's also a carer for her mum. And it's just been a wonderful story for Jordan to engage with us through wider achievement from her school and then to gain employment with us and to support other programs. We're upgrading the delivery centre, and I think with any strategy, you don't want it to be set in stone. I think we have to be flexible. And despite COVID, we ended the last financial year with more turnover as a charity than we've ever had before, because we managed to successfully pivot our fundraising online through challenges from home, or we had a special Simply the Best Night In event instead of our charity ball physically, and that raised £60,000 on the night with 800 people paying £25 to attend. And we had Premiership clubs noticing that we'd done this and asking, what technology or platforms did we use? Because I guess we were all scrambling around and trying things for the first time. So I'm not going to talk through that, but that's our current staff structure. And one of the other things that we're working on, just coming to the end of the presentation really now, is what can we do as a foundation? Because we try and pride ourselves to have great camaraderie and a sense of team spirit and purpose, and that we live our values, that we don't increase at a speed that we lose our sense of the Rangers Charity Foundation team. And actually, it always really heartens me that when we're recruiting, the other members of the team want us to make sure that whoever we pick is also a good fit for the team, and it's not just their expertise to deliver for the job that we're doing. So we've put in place, we're trying it for a year, a new approach to work where everyone includes in the job descriptions, we talk about our values, our expectations as the foundation, and our approach. And we're experimenting with maximum flexibility. So our new framework is saying, we're not saying when the working day starts or ends. It's up, if you want to start working tomorrow at 7 o'clock, because you got a dog walk to do or a dental appointment, or you work later, or you go out for a walk during the day. If you're in a delivery focused job, then you have to be there for that delivery. But generally doesn't start at 9 a.m. and it doesn't finish at 5 p.m. It might finish at 3 p.m. And so what's wrong with you coming in an hour earlier and leaving an hour earlier, or you taking your kids to school for 20 minutes and coming back home? What's wrong if you're not delivering that day to work from home for part of the week and other times in the office? What we have to make sure is that the office is constantly staffed. So if necessary, we put in rotas and we communicate. But we're experimenting with this, and it involves trust. But we're quite clear about our expectations, and it's not just about you doing your role, it's about trusting your colleagues, it's supporting your colleagues, and appreciating that we all have different jobs to do. And to do them successfully, we don't all have to do it in the same way. So I'm not saying everybody is in the team is suddenly, I get that, and that sounds brilliant to me. But what I'm seeing over time is people naturally falling into the new flexibility that gives. And, you don't have to ask me if, you're going off home at 4:30. I'm just trusting that you've done your job and that you've put in the appropriate hours. Do we need new technology there? We do have monthly objectives meetings between line managers and staff. So again, we've put in place some additional checks than we would normally do. And we have maybe more regular team meetings, some online, some physically. And we've got a subgroup that's looking at staff well-being so that we keep this as a live discussion issue. So it's interesting, but I find it quite liberating. So again, I'm interested to know if anybody else has done other approaches. And the benefit we have as a foundation is we don't have to follow what the club does. So, we have, for example, at the foundation, we've got a larger amount of annual leave allocation than the club. So that's the beauty for us as a foundation, is we kind of develop our own rules. So I think, in summary, the challenges have been the increased variety and complexity of our work. As for everyone, the COVID pandemic, adapting the way we fundraise. We're now having to consider whether we can say yes to no for people who would want to work with us, because we've got a limit to our physical delivery area. We have some ideas around this. It takes time for new staff to bed into the foundation. I think, only yesterday somebody approached saying, can I include you in a grant application? because I'd like to work with you on this program. And actually the end of the conversation was a polite no, because the deadline was too soon and I felt we're already doing something in that space. So I think we have to try and stay focused on what we've decided to do and make sure we get that done, and not feel an obligation to always pick up more and more things that might actually be a stress and strain for different members of the team. So there are a lot of opportunities, and there have been lots of opportunities to work in partnership. I'm very, I've been a member of the EFDN for a long time, and we're not competitors. And if people hear a good idea, then I hope everybody will follow up with, their friends and other charities afterwards. I think the pandemic has given us an opportunity to try a new flexible approach to working. We have a council-owned space, football pitch and centre opposite the stadium, and we're in legal negotiations at the moment to take that over as a foundation. The club will use some, academy and women's team will use some of the space, the foundation will use others. So that will be a big project, but will potentially transform what we can do to physically engage with the local community. And as I say, the strategy is made to be flexible. Just because we've got a 3-year strategy, we don't have to follow it to the letter. Communication is key, I think, especially when we're a mixture of working at home and how different people have experienced the pandemic. So I think never assume anything is one of my favorite mottos in life. So I think we have to try and never assume that everybody in the team knows what you know, or thinks that something's been passed on, especially as the team gets bigger. I think that's a challenge for me, and that was us at our recent charity ball where it was all hands on deck to help. So it was lovely to have everyone together. I think if you have a set of values and a culture, then for us, that's something that I want all of us as a team to be custodians of, to make sure that we live that. It's not always easy, especially when we're always busy. And I think, our relationship with the club can fluctuate with different staff coming and going. So I think we always have to work hard when, they have other priorities to make sure they're aware of what we're achieving and the difference we're making. It's not a financial result, and that's never how we should be measured. So I think that is sometimes easier. It's not always preaching to the converted. So for me, it's very important for me to have a close, open door relationship with the club's managing director. But I've now put in place quarterly meetings with senior club staff and myself. So that's a forum to take. I've not worded it this way, but to raise issues, but to talk about recent achievements and forward planning. So thank you very much for listening. I do have our most recent annual review. I think we've got 15 copies of that on my card, if anybody wants to take one of those away. But I hope that was a perspective. I think we're all different and unique. We're not trying to be clones to each other. So I appreciate you hearing what we're up to at the foundation, and any questions.
What was your biggest challenge in developing your strategy? Because I suppose what we're experiencing now with messing about with the theory of change and stuff and the direction we want to go is that we like most of our projects, but we're doing too much at the moment, so we're deciding which ones to keep, which ones to go.
Yeah, I think that has been the biggest challenges, and I know one of our trustees or the chair is trying to question whether we're doing too much variety, but I think that's one of the things that makes the foundation unique. And it might be that I feel I've seen the creation of all of these because I've been there so long, so I'm very reluctant to let things go. So I think the biggest challenge for us has been to get to a point where we have the funding to invest in more staff, because I think we've probably been delivering too much for the staff resource that we had, and we've benefited from staff that have been with the foundation for a long time, and so we're able to absorb more work easily. So I think, yeah, it's being able to resource ourselves to deliver what we want to do. And I think the other thing I'm keen to do is to scale up some programs rather than take on new ones. But it's possible that we might have to trim the number of programs. I'm not ruling that out, but I think the challenge is to make the foundation as much in control of its own destiny as possible. And so, for example, if we rely on, or we want to rely on the club for different funding opportunities, and that's unpredictable, then, you know, how do we then make decisions about staff resource, which are so critical to taking things forward sustainably? So I would say it's all about the staff team and our ability to deliver what we do, and how well can I demonstrate, and with the team, to the trustees, that we have a track record of income generation to be able to give people longer term contracts, because we're quite diverse in the way the money comes in, which is a strength. So COVID was quite frightening at first, but we managed to overcome that.
First of all, congratulations on everything you do. Gary Blackman Rovers, so not too far in the grand
Yeah.
of Europe, but yeah, very relatable what you're talking about. We're going through similar change ourselves, and challenges very similar. Relationship with the club, could you maybe explain a little bit more what your relationship is like with the club? Because fair play to you, if you've got them to add £2 to the season ticket, I think that's absolutely amazing, and in itself is an amazing achievement. The clubs are very sensitive about
Yeah.
prices, even down to the last penny. So how did you come over that obstacle? How was that implemented?
I think I kind of soft approached them a number of times. I dropped into conversations with the managing director, and then I basically wrote a two-pager, so on two sides, the proposal, how I thought it could work, and why it would make a difference. And I just basically handed it over at the end of the meeting. And I guess I have a relationship with certain members of staff in the club, including the managing director, where I think I come across as really sincere, and, you know, if I explain something, it's difficult to say, well, why wouldn't you agree to something so sensible? And I think he thought it was fine. He just needed to, I asked if he could put it to the club's board at their next board meeting. So I was pleasantly surprised that it was a straight yes with no pushback. But I tried to couch it. I think when we started our relationship with UNICEF, please don't quote me, but I think, you know, to be a partner of UNICEF won't get out of bed for any less than £100,000 a year. I think that's different now. So it's not a, you know, they work on big figures, but we couldn't afford that. And the club have 2 friendlies a year in the summer at that time. And I said, well, can you add £1 on to the ticket price for your 2 friendlies? And that will take care of your half. And then, you know, we'll fundraise the rest. So I think it's trying to put your head inside, be them, and try and find a way that makes it work for them, and then present that as the solution.
You said that some of the programs rose up due to the fact that you got some funding. Sometimes funding is only limited in time.
Yeah.
And you try to deliver quality to maintain a relationship. But what if that funding ends and you don't have any other options to keep on doing that program? How do you cross the message towards we have to stop?
I think we've been very lucky in that a lot of our external funders we've maintained the relationship over a long period of time. We do have built up reserves, for example, the learning program, that we can fund it ourselves. So if we're starting, I think our model many times has been, if we have an idea that we think will really work and we need to fund it ourselves to make happen, then we have enough money to do a pilot, pay for that ourselves. So then we've got more evidence to go to a funder and say, well, look, we've invested in this, and these are the results. Because monitoring and evaluation, is a challenge probably for us all. And then, we can go to a funder for that. I think, even the diversity wins, that's funded by the local authority. We work with them to make sure it's relevant for the curriculum. We've also got the European funded diversity wins. We've got an application in to be the expert partner on a future one. And we also had an application recently to Scottish Government to work with the Time for Inclusive Education to really increase our engagement in LGBT education. So we try and have, an English expression, different irons in the fire. That if something doesn't work, then we might have other opportunities. But if we have to lose something, then we will. But I think there's some other programs that we just fund ourselves because it's not expensive, like the Primary 2 program. It only costs us £250 to deliver an 8-week program in a school. So that's easy to multiply up. So, but yeah, it's a risk. But we try and have more than one card in our hands if possible. Yeah. Thank you very much.